Greetings, esteemed listeners, and welcome to the WOLEP Podcast, our gateway to exploring a multitude of captivating legal topics. As we venture into today's discussion, please don't forget that you can also catch up on our previous podcast episodes by visiting our website and tuning into our YouTube channel. The topic of our episode today is legal implications of global business expansion. You may wonder why we chose this topic. Well, the rapid pace of globalization has opened up unprecedented opportunities for businesses to expand their operations and reach new markets around the world. However, navigating the complex web of legal and regulatory requirements across different jurisdictions can pose significant challenges. Therefore, from complying with local labor laws and tax obligations to protecting intellectual property rights and mitigating geopolitical risks, global businesses today must carefully consider a wide range of legal implications to ensure smooth and successful expansion. This podcast aims to dive deep into the critical legal considerations that every organization must and should understand when expanding their footprint into new countries and regions. So, tune in to learn from two WOLEP experts as we explore the practical strategies and best practices for managing the legal complexities of global business growth. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm thrilled to introduce our esteemed guests for today's insightful podcast discussion. We are pleased to introduce Mrs. Alja Šiška, a Slovenian lawyer specializing in corporate and labor law. Hello, Alja.
Hi.
I can tell you about Alja that she is located in the picturesque capital of Slovenia, Ljubljana, and she brings a wealth of experience and knowledge to our discussion today. With a robust background in corporate and labor law, Alja is well regarded in her field of expertise in Slovenia, and as a member of the WOLEP network, she actively builds connections with legal professionals worldwide. Her focus on providing skilled guidance in the intricate process of obtaining work permits in Slovenia highlights the importance of sound legal advice in navigating complex regulations. Alja's profound understanding of labor and corporate laws positions her well to discuss the legal implications of global business expansion with depth and insight. So again, welcome, Alja.
Thank you for the nice introduction also.
And joining us as well is Mrs. Minoska, an accomplished Macedonian Attorney-at-Law from Skopje, from the capital of her country. With over 2 decades of experience in the legal field, Ana has established her law office in 2006 as a testament to her commitment to legal excellence. Her journey began in 1996, where she shaped her skills working for reputable law firms in Skopje. Over the years, Ana has catered to a diverse clientele, ranging from international corporations to local entities, addressing a wide range of legal requirements with finesse and expertise. Specializing in corporate and commercial law, Ana boasts in-depth knowledge of FDI, M&A, and energy law. Her extensive experience in international corporate and commercial law makes her a fitting candidate to explore the nuanced legal implications of global business expansion, the topic of today's episode. So, as you can see, we are privileged to have such exceptional legal minds with us, ready to share their unparalleled insights and expertise with our audience. So, again, I would like to welcome both Alja and Ana to our conversation.
I also say hello, thank you for the invitation. I'm very happy to be here with you today.
Likewise for us. So kicking off our conversation, to both of you, we'll be exploring for the next 60 minutes this topic today. And I will start by asking Alja, how do the legal requirements for establishing a company in Slovenia differ for local entities compared to foreign companies?
Yes, they do. They do differ. I mean, it is a little bit different if you are foreigner than if you are Slovene. First of all, you need to find some connections also in Slovenia, or when you go to open the company in some other country, you need to have someone here who can help you with this. So this is the first thing. But if I speak in general, it is a little bit more complicated with bringing all the evidences to the court, and also with translations, opening a bank account. It's a little bit harder to open a bank account if you are not Slovene. And if you're coming from a foreign country, this is most of it. It takes a little bit longer time actually, and maybe a little bit more money as well. You need to pay a little bit more because also the translations costs and timing, and of course, if you open the company in Slovenia and you are Slovene, you have checkpoints in Slovenia where you can open the company and it goes faster, especially if you are a one-man band, But if you are a foreigner, you automatically has to go to notary. Again, costs for that are higher. And as I said before, the biggest issue that I see with foreigners opening the company in Slovenia, it is the opening the bank account, because Slovenian banks are not so happy when the owners of the company are not Slovene. I'm not sure how it is in the other countries, but I would say it's pretty much the same. In Slovenia, banks are having a list of countries where they put like on the red list, on the green list, on some yellow list, and then if you are not lucky and you are coming from the country from the red list, they can decide to not open the bank account in Slovenia for you. And without a bank account, you cannot open the company here. But it is possible today to open the bank account also in some other country. Also, we have other options like Revolut, for example. So sometimes this is the way also to go, So most of it is this, but you have to be patient. This is the most important thing. Be patient and trust the person that you are hiring. For example, if you hire a lawyer to help you with this one, just be patient and wait, because the court will for sure ask you to bring another papers, another documentation. Also, they want to have the extract from different register from your country, and we have to translate that, and sometimes the court is not satisfied with what you bring to them, so you need to do it all over again. If you are Slovene, for example, and you open the company in Slovenia, the court gets all those papers by itself from official register, and you don't actually have this extra work after. This is actually, in general, the most important part, actually. Yeah.
Thank you, Alja, for clarifying this particular question. And now moving over to Anna. I've seen that you were smiling when Alja gave us the answer. So please, Anna, I would also like to ask you, how do you perceive the legal requirements for establishing and registering businesses in Macedonia in comparison to similar projects in the EU? Also included here is Slovenia, because obviously Alja's country is in the EU.
Well, I was smiling. In the very beginning, I got an impression that foreign investments are not very welcome in Slovenia. But further, I understand that this explanation is more addressing to the formalities during the practice that you can face, which are normal. If you have a foreign company, you have to do a little bit more paperwork, of course, more engagement. But that is standard procedure. But first impression was that it's very difficult to come to Slovenia as foreign investor. That was like a first impression.
No. It's still okay. It's okay. As I said, you have to be patient. but we can work with that. We have a lot of foreigners.
Formalities, we have to be patient everywhere. But regarding the welcoming of the investment, that is what I was thinking on the very beginning. Anyhow, what I can say for the Macedonian practice is that I can say without any hesitation that Macedonian legal practices for incorporation of entities is very efficient, and it satisfies the best practices in this legal area. As for the foreign investors, by help of experienced attorney locally, they can very easily determine the form of the legal entity they prefer for the Macedonian purposes, and especially to determine the composition of the management board in order for them to ensure easy day-to-day business activities. The preparation period, as Ida also mentioned, might take some time and might involve more activities, and how long it will take depends mostly on the intercompany movements, how they are doing their work internally, and how their administration is working for the purpose of obtaining of their acts. However, the procedure here in front of the Macedonian Central Registry is very fast due to established one-stop shop system of registration. At the end of the process, the company receives very comprehensive document containing all relevant data, not only the company tax number, but also the bank account number. So the entering into business activities after the registration process could be very fast. This was many times emphasized by the clients that this kind of a proceeding and this resolution is very useful for them, not just to get impression for their company and details for their company, but also when they are stepping in relation with third parties. So they have in one document, they have all the details for the other party with whom they are entering into relations. Now, after Alja's talk, I'm sure why they are mentioning this to me. So we can see that Macedonian practice is very good in this, and this is because of the permanent tendency of all Macedonian governments that we make a business climate that is very attractive to the foreign investors. And just as a note here, I would also like to mention that sometimes the companies, foreign investors, decide not to establish the company, but to establish a branch office as a subsidiary, or to do business through giving other type of legal rights, for example, franchise or distribution rights. But I'm very happy that the tendency recently is really to have foreign companies here present on the Macedonian ground, especially those multinational companies, which means that they are putting Macedonia on their map, and we have Macedonian companies which are part of those multinational companies, which is very positive.
Thank you, Anna. It's good to hear that your government is has adopted this mentality of attracting foreign investment and making their life. I'm talking about entrepreneurs, obviously, making their life a bit more easy, because, as we all know, bureaucracy tends to sometimes put hurdles in front of the business people, in front of businessmen who want to invest. And it's always good to hear that national authorities have this in mind when drawing up regulations and legislation.
Yes, many things were done in this respect. Years ago, we have some sort of a guillotine, which means many provisions in the law were decreased, were deleted from the laws, just to make the doing businesses as easier as possible. It's always something more to be done, but the most important is the tendency for attracting the foreign investments. That's the most important thing in all this story.
That is very true. And going back to Alja, because I know that work permits are one of your preferred areas in which you work, in which you have a lot of experience. I would like to ask you, Alja, how do you approach the process of obtaining work permits for foreign employees? Because obviously, many such investments necessitate, yes, foreign employees moving over to Slovenia and acquiring a work permit. And what legal considerations should the companies keep in mind during this process?
Yes, when talking about approaching the process of obtaining work permits, it also depends if I'm working directly with the employee or with also the employer. I have to say that the role of the employer in this process to obtain work permit is crucial, so I cannot work only with the employee without talking with the employer as well, because there is some work that the employer has to do on his side as well. If we are talking about the procedure in general, if I speak about Slovenian legislation, all the work permits for the first time when you apply for the work permits, you have to send or apply or send the application to some Slovenian embassy that is closest to your country. Of course, I'm speaking about the work permits for people from the country, non-EU countries, because the people, citizens of EU can work in Slovenia freely. So I'm excluding them now from the answer. So basically, you have to get the tax number first in Slovenia, and then we can apply with all of your information and with your CV and everything that you have. But you have to, when you apply, you cannot apply in general, like I would like to work in Slovenia and enter Slovenian market. No, you have to have the employer already known, and you have to sign the contract of first with him, that you can after ask to get the work permit for this exact work position with the exact employer. So you don't get the work permit on general, and you can after work with it, I don't know, for 2 years maybe in Slovenia, wherever you want. This is not quite possible. So I have to say that regulations about the work permits in Slovenia are kind of strict. What I miss is maybe a little bit more clarified legislation that people would be able to read it and understand it. It's a little bit complex, so you always need someone who can help you here with it. And again, also with the work permits, it varies. If you want to apply in the capital city of Slovenia, it takes a lot of time that you receive the positive answer. But if you apply in some other places in Slovenia, where the administration units are not so crowded, you can get it kind of fast, maybe 1 month. This is fast for me. I don't know what is fast for you, but in Slovenia, some procedures can take half a year or 1 year. So this is why I'm saying that 1 month is kind of fast. After, when you want to apply to prolong the work permit, you can do it directly here in Slovenia. So it's a little bit easier, the procedure. And in the meantime, you can still work freely here. Again, for the same position that you already have work permit. Even though if the work permit is expired, if you already asked to prolong it, then once you enter Slovenian system and you are in the system and you work here, everything is really easier. So what maybe I can add to this is that if sometimes I work with companies, as I said before, it's easier for me. But if I work with the workers directly with the people, it's not a problem. But I always ask to give me the contact from their employer, so I can contact them and after say to them exactly and give them the instructions what they have to do as well on their site. because they need to first check the market, officially check the market. If there is maybe some unemployed Slovenian that can work on this position, in this case, Slovenian government will never give you the consent to employ someone from foreign country, for example. So this is not the work that the employee is doing, but it's actually the work from the employer. So this is why it's important that I cooperate with both sides all the time.
Thank you to Alja. Some very interesting insights, especially the one about maybe applying in some different area of the country in order to get ahead of the bureaucracy and of the very packed schedule of local authorities.
Maybe I can just, sorry to interrupt you, maybe I can add something. Yeah, you have to be a little bit strategic with this one, So if you want to get the work permit fast, it's better that you get some place where you will live in the future outside of the capital city, because if you live in Ljubljana, there is no other way than applying in Ljubljana, or like the Ljubljana administration unit will work with your application. So you cannot avoid this, So you need to think that through before you start the procedure. This is why it's good that before you start it, that you have someone who will tell you all the steps, and then you can think about it and decide what you will do and which way you will choose.
Thank you. And we'd like to also hear Anna's opinion, because given your specialization in corporate and commercial law, maybe you can tell us some more about how foreign investors in your country navigate work permit procedures and the associated legal considerations.
Yes, working permits are always, let's say, a big issue because they involve a lot of formalities. As I explained, now I'm very much familiar with Slovenian procedures. So people should think how to enter in Slovenia. It's obviously not easy. But my part, Macedonian aspect is more relevant in the aspect how the foreign investors can ensure that some workers from other companies of theirs could come in Macedonia for performing of certain activities here. This is sometimes a bit a robust procedure because it takes a little bit more formalities, but I could say that foreign investors are very used on this due to their worldwide experience. So they are passing this with a lot of patience and understanding, of course. We as lawyers here are doing the formal procedure, which is a little bit similar like this, what Alja has explained, a lot of details. We remain here connected to our colleagues from the company investor, because we are supposed to receive all the facts, all documents, data, information, and acts from them in order to do some proceeding here in front of the proper authorities, usually the employment agency, the Ministry of Interior. It looks like this issue become a bit actual in last couple of years, because there is a tendency that Macedonian workers, those young people and also experienced workers, are going in the countries of European Union, mostly in Slovenia and also in Croatia, where they think that they will find better living and working conditions. So sometimes even foreign investors need to bring additional workers from the different countries in the world, and therefore we do have exercised these procedures for having the procedure for issuing of the working permits. Regarding the managers of the companies, the procedure is not subject to permit, but it's more sort of a registration process in order to ensure for them easy entrance and exit the Macedonian territory. But I also want to mention here that not only working permits are the issue for the investors. Sometimes they are obliged to get or to obtain some other permits for proper work of theirs, some approvals or even licenses, depending on the field where legal field where they are performing their business activities. And at the end, I would also mention here the big involvement of the administration. There is also in this area a lot of improvement in the sense that all the governments were trying to fast forward the procedures in the way they do some sort of a continuing improvement of the capacities of the administration, and also, sort of a strengthening of the administration in order to be able to answer to all those frequent requests from the business community.
Thank you, Anna. And it was also interesting to hear that the workforce, especially the young workforce from Macedonia, is sometimes drawn to Slovenia. So there are connections, also economic connections between your countries, which makes it all the more, let's say, interesting that we chose this topic, because obviously the European Union is a big economic mirage for young people, but not only.
But that is also sort of a tradition from ex-Yugoslavia. There is a connection in this respect. We are very close, mentality, way of working, and
I agree.
The language is very similar, so and it's very close. So
yeah,
the best option for especially for the young people.
Yeah, I completely agree with this, and also Slovenia likes to invite. I mean, like if you are, for example, coming from the ex-Yugoslavian countries, one of them, it's for sure easier for you to get the work permit here. They will give it to you faster, faster. They will not check the paperwork,
Yes, and many young people are finishing the education in Slovenia, on Slovenian universities.
And also, I'm not sure if we have any mutual agreement between your country and my country, but Slovenia tries to sign a lot of agreements, mutual agreement between countries to fasten the procedure of employing people from. For example, with Bosnia, we have the mutual agreement, and then it's easier to obtain work permit for people here, and also for maybe to open the company in Slovenia from the tax aspects and so on. So.
Thank you to both for clarifying this aspect. And I would like to remind our viewers who may be tuned in a bit later that this is the 5th episode of the WOLEP Podcast, Around the Law in 60 minutes. My esteemed guests today are Mrs. Alja Šiška from Slovenia, Ljubljana, and Mrs. Anna Minoska from North Macedonia, two experts in their fields, and we are discussing today a very interesting topic, which is legal implications of global business expansion. And as we have approached the midway mark of today's episode, I'd like to invite you to stay with us. We'll be taking a short break, and after the break, we will be resuming our conversation. Thank you to both, and we'll be resuming in a very short while. Welcome back to our 5th episode of the WOLEP Podcast, which addresses a very interesting topic, legal implications of global business expansion. My two esteemed guests today are two experts in our network, Mrs. Alja Šiška from Slovenia and Mrs. Anna Minoska from North Macedonia. Welcome. Thank you for joining this episode, and we're very thrilled to be having you on the show. And resuming our conversation that we began earlier, I would like to ask both of you a very, let's say, provocative question, which is, when dealing with the international clients, how do you navigate cultural and professional differences while maintaining strong client relationships? Because we are talking about expansion of businesses, and obviously there are cultural differences between countries. Please, both of you.
If I may start, maybe. Yeah, for me, I have to say that if I compare the natural persons with business clients, I can see that clients that are opening businesses in different countries, they are already used to it, that they know exactly that that there are differences in the different culture, and they understand and they listen to you. Sometimes I see more of a problem with a natural person because they don't completely understand how things are working here, especially if they are not coming from EU or this European area, maybe from really far away, from like third countries where the legislation is completely different, and it's really hard to understand. But what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to understand them as well. And I'm telling them all the time, like, look, I understand this is something that you do like this at your place, and I completely agree with you. But in Slovenia, we do it differently, and I cannot do much about it. If the Slovenian legislation says this, it is this. If you don't agree with it, if you don't cooperate with what the government is saying to you, you can after maybe pay the fine or something. So I'm trying to explain everything to them, and just hoping that they will understand me and trust me and go with me, and like just because sometimes what I can see it is that if how would I say, that they don't trust you anymore if you start to not argue with them, but like trying too much to if you don't show them that you understand them, and this is something you don't want. If you, as a lawyer, you really need to have a good partnership and trust between you and your client. So this is the most important thing for me. So I'm trying to be as open as possible, and we can always find some solution. So yeah.
Thank you, Alja, and let's hear now Anna's insights.
Well, the issue of probably national differences, in my view, was more actual maybe several decades ago, when Macedonian market has opened for foreign investors. So maybe we were then interesting for them. Some of them were even telling that we are exotic destination. However, now both parties, like Macedonians here and foreign investors or foreigners who are coming here, have already adapted to each other. There is not, I can't see very big issues, because Macedonians are famous with their hospitalities, and foreigners are also very famous that they very easy adapt to, especially those who are traveling, very easy adapt to not just traveling, I could say even doing business, you see, very easy adapt to new conditions. So this topic, it's not a big deal anymore. Maybe in the past was a bit complicated for foreigners to understand that they need to celebrate, let's say, Orthodox Christmas after the New Year, which changed their production process, but everything is now resolved. Like, it's simply understandable. But I would more pay attention to the other part of the question that you're mentioning about the professionalism And there I see great impact of presence of the foreign investments here, because investors brought here new techniques, technologies, new know-how, strict intercompany rules. So I can say that the people working there have really best conditions for work, and there is a very good process of their advancing of their careers within the companies. Just lately, I noticed several of Macedonian people who are in high level of intercompany hierarchy. They are within the foreign investors chain. So it's really benefit for the country presence of all these investments. I see that 100%. And the other aspect that I want to mention is also the insisting of the business sector, the whole business sector, and also this chamber of foreign investors. They are very much interested for dual education. In the aspect that the scholars in the high schools have option to do practice in foreign investors companies, so they can implement the knowledge that they get during the education in the practice. Furthermore, those companies are very much interested to invest in those people in their future studies. So it is some sort of a benefit for both sides. For me, that is very good, because I look a chance in that respect that those people will stay in the country and work for Macedonian companies, because foreign investors companies are still, again, the Macedonian companies.
Thank you to both of you for these very fine answers to my question. And it's really, let's say, eye-opening to see that some aspects, like, let's say, cultural sensitivities maybe, and differences in approaching work and so on, are playing such an important part in some otherwise maybe technical domains. So moving back to Alja, I would like to ask you, if, drawing from your experience, from your expertise, you could highlight some of the prominent regulatory obstacles that companies commonly encounter when entering new international markets, such as Slovenia. And furthermore, what maybe proactive measures can businesses adopt to effectively navigate and mitigate these challenges?
From, how would I say, from what I see in my work, or what when I open, for example, the company for the foreigner, and then they start to employ people, also maybe Slovenian people. There is one aspect that I see that we are really different, maybe for each of the country. It's something else, has different legislation in the field of labor law. I have to say that in Slovenia we have a really strict legislation, regulations actually, and we want to protect the workers as much as possible, which is maybe not the case in every country. And I also see a lot of differences already between EU countries. If we are talking about non-EU countries, then I can see even more of the differences. If I'm more concrete, for example, when I'm working with a Romanian company, because I know, Theo, you're coming from Romania, so this is why maybe I'm pointing this out. The legislation, labor legislation that you have in Romania is completely different than Slovenian one. So what I see is that the company really, when they enter Slovenian market, they need to understand that that you need someone here, maybe the perfect way is if you have some lawyer, some advocate who can help you out with all the legislation and all of the rights of the workers. Because if you don't respect this and inspection is finding you or how would I say, gives you some fine, then you're blocked on different parts of your work. It's not only about employing people, about work permits. It's also about some other. Anna was mentioning before that usually when companies arrive to Slovenia, they need to another country. They have to obtain different licenses to work. In Slovenia, you can be blocked after with all the different licenses for work to do the business here in Slovenia if you don't respect labor law. With that being said, also if you, for example, are a CEO, you have a company, you own the company, for example, in the foreign country. If you want to open the company in Slovenia, you have to bring the extract from the register from your country that you didn't get any fine from your, for example, labor inspection, that you breached the labor law, for example. So this is something that's really, that I see that I have a difficulty with the clients, that they don't understand this, or I have to emphasize this aspect really all the time to them, like, look, you have to do like this, you need to adopt some internal legislation in the company, and then also there is minimum salary in Slovenia, other rights that we have, and you have to respect this. There is no way that you do a mistake with this one, because once they find you that you did something, and the thing is that you don't do that on purpose, you just do it because you don't know. So how to solve this, as I said, find someone who you can trust, who can give you the good advices about how to construct your company here, how to employ people, which contracts to sign, what the contract has to have inside, and you will be okay then. So this is, for me, how I see it.
So your advice would be to do things properly in order to have a very good process going forward.
Maybe it costs you some money on the beginning, but at the end of the day, it will cost you less, because you will not have to deal with the state and with the wrongdoing or whatever, So it's good that you have everything. People come here and then they don't want to spend money on lawyers, on advisors, but at the end of the day, this can help you after on the long term. So once you do this and you start to understand it, then you're good to go for, because legislation doesn't change like this really fast in Slovenia. So yeah.
Indeed, and I think Anna will approve that people not wanting to invest in lawyers and legal services is a common problem everywhere, in every country. But it, like Alja said, it pays off in the long term, but also in the short term. So Anna, I know that you have an important working experience with foreign investors in North Macedonia, and I'd like to ask you, what strategies have you employed to tackle regulatory obstacles and to ensure successful project completions?
Sometimes problems are part of the attorney's work. It's core of the attorney's work. We are here to solve the problems, although others are telling that we are the problem producers, but I don't think so. I still believe that we are solving the problems of the people and the companies. There are also some issues like Alja mentions when we do have, let's say, smaller companies or individuals investing, but having in mind the title of the topic today, what we are discussing, and thinking about the global companies, I believe that this issue is not that frequent. I mean, there are issues that appear while we are in the process of exercising the investment, but anyhow, they are fully aware of the importance of having a lawyer before they start any activity. So from our part as attorneys, the most important thing is that we need always to address to the relevant law and regulation, and let's say to do the best efforts that the spirit of the law is duly implemented. That is something that I want to emphasize, especially if when in the process we have the administration or sometimes even courts, if they enter into the stories. My way is always insisting on the right. If the client has certain rights, so we insist it with all, and we use all the disposed measures and remedies in those procedures. And as overall, I could just say that there is no, let's say, magic formula how you will overcome obstacles or problems of the clients. You are resolving them as they appear. But as lawyers, we need to be all the time prepared. For these purposes, the most important thing is that the attorney is all the time updated with novelties of the legislation. Then also it's necessary constant learning in those areas where the attorney works, following the practice. And also one very important thing that I find is the communication, collaboration with other colleagues, with other law practitioners and experts in certain areas, because changing of the ideas and opinions, it's very fruitful. It can give you sometimes best results for your topic with your client.
I can also add to what you are saying that this is what the WOLEP network is for. I mean, to compare experiences, maybe to improve best practices in the legal field, and to draw up some conclusions and to compare, like I said, case studies from your practices. As we approach the 50-minute mark, I will be saying that we also approach the last segment of our podcast, which will see me address two questions to my two guests today. To Alja, I will ask, because you are a new lawyer, which is a pivotal market for business expansion. So how do you counsel firms, Alja, on navigating use regulations, which can be a headache sometimes? We've had different cases in which these regulations were like I said, a pain, but also some of them are really, really good and improve the economic cycle. So what key legal priorities ensure compliance and success when entering this market?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, first I have to say that it depends if client is also, when client approach to me, and if the client is coming from EU, then they probably already know a lot about the EU regulations and legislation, so there is not that much of a problem. Of course, after the next question, it is if the EU issued the directive or it issued the regulation. If it issues the regulation, then the client knows already what are the rules here, because they have the same rules in their own country. If we are talking about directive, it means that Slovenia or each country has to adopt additional law, which can then vary from, from Slovenian law then to Austrian law, Italian law. So it's not always the same. I had a case about this, for example, last year. It was about selling some products on the market in Slovenia online, coming from Italy, and I have to say the legislation here was kind of mostly coming from EU, but it was still not the same, because Slovenia had a little bit different aspects. So I had to explain that to my client. Then, on the other hand, if I'm talking about the non-EU clients coming to Slovenia, in this case, they don't care because, they don't know Slovenian legislation and they don't know the EU legislation. So for them, it doesn't matter if it's coming from EU. They just want to know if on the Slovenian market they have to respect it or not. So this is, after this is the most important. Then, talking about what are the main fields where we have to be careful about, it is probably data protection, environmentals, I would say those, and how to respect those rules. It's, as I said already before, with the previous question when I answered, it's good to have also that the company adopts legislation on its own inside the corporation, inside the company. So after, then what are the rules? This depends on what are we talking about, and also which field the company works in. It's completely different if I have a company that sells food, then I have the company that sells technical things, and then, for example, me in practice, I have a company that we obtained for the company in Slovenia the license for agency workers. This is, for example, something that it's covered by EU as well, but at the same time, it's so particular and so special in Slovenia that the EU legislation is not enough. So we have to after give them full support from this point of view. I hope I answered your question. Maybe it was a little bit, because there is not one answer. As I say, it depends on where the client comes from and which kind of field we are talking about. Field of law, and on the other side, the market where the client works on. So I cannot give you one side answer with this one.
Thank you, but you did discuss it thoroughly, and I think that we all agree that indeed there are many variables to every legal problem, and you have to give a customized, let's say, answer to every client, because every situation is different, notwithstanding the more general aspects. So every case is different, every business is different, every business need is different. So thank you, Alja. I'm going back to our esteemed member from North Macedonia, Mrs. Anna Minoska. I would like to ask you, because I know that you've been involved, Anna, in many important projects in your country, which include the establishment of private universities, insurance companies, and also electricity traders in North Macedonia. Congratulations for the work on those projects. They are impressive, very impressive. And could you please share some insights from your work on these projects? I would wonder, how do these experiences now shape your counsel to firms entering the Macedonian market?
Yeah, thanks for noticing that. Well, I had a lot of files on my desk that I have accepted to work. So honestly speaking, I enjoyed all of them, because even in those files that we could somehow consider as small files, you can learn something. You will for sure learn something. At least you will exercise some provision that you have never tried before. Anyhow, these projects that you are mentioning were something that happened to me in the career, and they enriched my career a lot, because they had some special element in them, because they were one of the biggest investments in those areas in Macedonia at that time. And of course, it was in private sector, and it was the first experience for passing of the law in the first examples of these companies. So this experience had a significant impact in my career, because when you face an opportunity to pass this procedure only defined in the law and not practices, yet it is only a challenge but also at the end it's pure satisfaction. It's not only that, also lately I was working on some project in the technological industrial development zones that were also very big projects where we used to have negotiations with the government. So it is, something where you really need to prepare yourself, because it's not only that there are a lot of lawyers, but also there are other lawyers and government authorities, all of us on the table with maybe sometimes even with different opinions. So those are the projects that I really consider as priceless.
As we draw our discussions to a close, reflecting on the insights that my esteemed guests have shared, we recognize the profound impact of legal expertise and, let's say, acumen on global business expansion. So the knowledge that lawyers possess is of utmost importance for the well-being of the businesses that they counsel. I think we can all agree on that. And on traversing the international business landscape, it's always good to have as a companion a specialist, legal practitioner who knows what he does and how things work in that respective region. To our listeners, I extend a warm invitation to explore our previous episodes, available on our website, wolep.com, and on our YouTube channel, where a wealth of informative content awaits. And again, I would like to refer to the enlightening perspectives that my guests today, both Alja and Anna, have shed light on. It's a critical role that the lawyer plays in the realm of global commerce. And before we part ways, because this is the time of conclusions, I would like to address the final question to my two guests. You can answer freely, you can debate. I would like to ask you, how do you envision the legal terrain evolving in the context of global business expansion? Because we can witness the expansion of many businesses, they go global. So what do you see in the future? Maybe the impact of AI as well to this domain?
Yeah, I have to say that I'm a little bit scared of it, I don't use it, but what I notice it is that it can give you some information, but it cannot give you life or something. It's just the basic information without the real opinion of a person, with experiences, and different insights from different aspects of life also, and sometimes client needs the advice also, not just like some legislation. And also I heard that it can really, sometimes it's good to have it, but at the same time it can give you the wrong answer, because it takes out some legislation that's already passed, or and also law is life, which means that you need to explain it case by case, so maybe it's the same legislation for one case will bring completely different answer than in another case. So this is something that I don't think the artificial intelligence can help you with.
Anna, please, your opinion on this. How do you see it evolving going forward?
I'm not fan of this AI, so I will prolong any implementation as long as possible. So I'm not practicing, and if you ask me, I would not practice it, but I don't know how the things will develop and what we will really need to do. But I fully agree with this, what Alja says, that we first need to be human, we need to understand, we need to involve some feelings in the subject, whatever it is, even in a pure business subject. You first need to understand what happened.
In closing, I'd like to address a heartfelt thank you to Alja and Anna for their invaluable contributions today to our podcast. So again, thank you to both of you. You have been contributing to the episode with some very fine insights into the work of a lawyer who counsels businesses going global, going abroad, which is always very on the one side it's very tempting for entrepreneurs, but at the same time it comes with a lot of questions which needs to be properly answered to and addressed. So thank you to my two esteemed guests. Thank you as well to our viewers, to you. And remember to stay engaged and informed as you continue your journey in the dynamic world of global business. Thank you for tuning in to the WOLEP Podcast Around the Law in 60 minutes. Until next time, take care of yourselves and have a lovely holiday.